What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Ball. I'm your host, Seth, and this is your home for college sports. Let's get right into it. The LSU Tigers. They started out last year losing to Florida State, then they finished the season 10-4 with an SEC West championship. They were 6-2 in the SEC with wins over Alabama, Ole Miss, Florida, Arkansas, Auburn, Mississippi State. They lost to Tennessee, Texas A&M, and in their bowl game, or they won their bowl game. They lost to Georgia in the SEC championship, 50-30. They have Jaden Daniels coming back. He threw for 2,913 yards, 17 touchdowns. Malik Neighbors is coming back as their wide receiver, who's their top wide receiver coming back. He had over 1,000 yards last year, only 3 touchdowns, though. Jaden Daniels only threw 3 interceptions the whole year last year. They also have Emory Jones on the offensive line, a really good right tackle for the LSU Tigers. Left tackle Will Campbell. A big offensive line they'll have this year down in Baton Rouge for Brian Kelly, who is in his second season as the head ball coach down in Baton Rouge. Mike Denbrock is the offensive coordinator, and Matt House is the defensive coordinator. Now, we'll break down the LSU schedule. I was watching some of the LSU Florida State game from last year, which this year they're playing again down in Orlando this time. Last year it was in New Orleans. This year it's in Orlando. That game's 6:30 on ABC, September 3rd. I look for LSU to come out really strong, and I think they'll win that game. I think they'll be ready this year. They last year was kind of well, they should have won, honestly. They which 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 they were losing most of the game, and then you felt like they had a really good chance of winning the game, and then they lost it at the end. But LSU, I think they beat Florida State this year in the Seminoles down in Orlando. Next game they play Grambling State, 6:30 on SEC Network Plus and ESPN Plus. September 9th, they'll beat Grambling. They start SEC play the next week, September 16th, at Starkville, Mississippi, against Mississippi State, 11 a.m. on ESPN. I think they win all 3 of those games, and then they play at home. The home opening game in SEC play against Arkansas on September 23rd. They win that game. That's what I predict. And then they travel on September 30th at Ole Miss in Oxford, Mississippi. So they got to go to Mississippi twice in a couple weeks, or in 3-week time, they go to Mississippi twice. They play at Mississippi State, then they play at home against Arkansas, and then they go to Oxford for Ole Miss. So, and then October 7th, they play at Missouri. Now, all these games, I think they win. They win at Missouri. Then they play Auburn at home, which last year they played Auburn real close. It was a close game. They only won 21-17. Um, this year they get the victory. I think they'll beat Auburn. Then they play Army on October 21st. And then here's the big game. They have a bye. Then they play at Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Now that game, like I've mentioned, I have Alabama in my top 4 playoff teams. I think Alabama wins. Now it's gonna be a close game, so it could go either way. This is I picked Alabama because it's in Tuscaloosa. I do like Brian Kelly's LSU Tigers this year. Jaden Daniels. He ran for over almost 900 yards rushing last year. 11 touchdowns on the ground. He is a really good quarterback. He is probably the second ranked quarterback as far as me in the SEC. I have KJ Jefferson, then Jaden Daniels, number 2. But really, he got a lot more guys around him. I feel like the talent, even a guy like Kieran Lacey, I think I think they fall at Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Alabama's gonna be it's in Tuscaloosa, so I'm going with Alabama. That's my only reason I don't pick LSU this year. They beat them last year. They could beat them again this year easily, and then they finish the season. They play at home against Florida, so looks like Florida's usually earlier in the season for LSU, but this year it's going to be later in the season. November 11th, they play Florida at home, but it's a week after Alabama, so that could be a trap game for LSU. But I think LSU wins that game. And they move on to play Georgia State at home November 18th, and they'll get a win there. And then November 25th, they play Texas A&M at home. Now, Texas A&M beat them last year, 38-23 in College Station, but this year it's in Baton Rouge. I think LSU wins over the Texas A&M Aggies, and they go 11-1 on the season. They miss out on the ACC championship game because I have Alabama going undefeated in the regular season, and so that's what I have. I have LSU going 11-1. Now can they sneak? Now it would be pretty crazy if 3 SEC teams make the playoff, but I don't see that them. I don't see the selection committee putting 3 teams in the playoff, but could it happen? Possibly. I mean, crazier things have happened in college football that would be wild if Georgia and Alabama played in the SEC championship, or if even Georgia and LSU played, and Alabama only lost to LSU, and you have 2 teams with 1 loss, and then 1 team that's undefeated, and there's 3 SEC teams. I would be okay with 3 SEC teams. Now the committee probably won't be unless the other conferences lose more than 1 game. If a team loses 1 game, or even if they lose 1 game, like Ohio State, say they lost 1 game, it would be interesting to see how they would decide that one. I guess they would go by the championship. Like if a 1-loss Big Ten school won a won the Big Ten championship. They'd probably pick the team with the conference championship. But it would be crazy for Georgia, Alabama, and LSU. Alabama and LSU to have one loss, or Georgia and LSU to have one loss, or Georgia and Alabama to have one loss, and LSU's undefeated. I can see that situation playing out this year with how their schedules are set up, because LSU's playing Alabama, but Georgia's not playing Alabama or LSU until it would be the SEC championship game. Would be wild, but my playoff teams are Ohio State, uh, Alabama, Georgia, and Texas. Those are who I have as my playoff contenders right now. Things can change during the season, but right now, this is how I have things set up right now in July. So LSU 11-1. That's how I have it. Brian Kelly, in his second year, he is 10-4 at LSU. He is overall he's 294 and 101-2. He's been coaching 32 years. He is a really smart coach. He knows what he's doing. I didn't know if it was gonna work last year, honestly, but he got that thing turned around real quick after they fell at or during the first game against Florida State. They only lost by 1, and it was a close game. They probably should have won. They only got beat down by Tennessee, who Tennessee was pretty good last year. They had a really good offense, and uh, then they only lose to Texas A&M at the end, and then they lost to Georgia. So Brian Kelly, did a really good job. And then they, in the bowl game, the Citrus Bowl, they whooped up on Purdue, which Purdue at the time, their coach left, and they didn't have many. They didn't have their coach, Brian Braun, but LSU whooped up on them 63-7. So LSU will have another fantastic year. Brian Kelly looks to be on track at LSU. It would not surprise me at all if LSU goes undefeated. Their schedule looks really good. I tell you that LSU Alabama game this year is probably going to be the biggest LSU Alabama. I know they're always big every year, but this year probably be as big as ever. As far as the LSU Alabama rivalry. So, that is my prediction. LSU goes 11-1. Thanks for listening in. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, ST93, and also follow me on Spotify. Talkin Ball is my podcast on there. And also Twitter at Talkin Ball 05. You can follow and like this video. It'll help me out really a lot. And so thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.